Welcome back to another episode of Unplugged, brought to you by DraftKings. Man, I love basketball right now. I mean, men's game is going crazy, obviously, with the playoffs. Got a chance to catch a courtside Sparks game this weekend. But joining us is none other than one of my best friends, Rachel Nichols. Welcome back.
Mr. Matt Barnes.
How are you?
How much fun is it watching Kelsey Plum?
Kelsey's the shit.
Right?
I remember how dope she was in college, but obviously she fell into her role. Yeah. But we'll obviously get to that a little bit later. But yeah, as a Spark, she is.
You said you went to the game. I didn't realize that. Plus she talks her shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
I'm gonna break her down later because this is the first time I got to see her play in person in a while for the Sparks. Then it's just a different. But yeah, we'll get to that. But anyway, let's get to Eastern Finals. You were in the building.
Yeah, baby.
Game 1. Madison Square Garden. I said I didn't even care if I went to the game. I just want to feel the energy in New York right now because I know it's insane. But you witnessed a choke.
First of all, going into that series, going into the Eastern Conference Finals, first time, 25 years against the Pacers.
Dope, right.
Every old Nick is in the building. Every Reggie's there, all the shit. You walk around New York that day,
crazy,
right? The Knicks were not only going to win that series in 4, they were going to sweep in 4. They were, after beating the Celtics, they were going to sweep the finals in 4, and they were somehow going to win 2 titles by sweeping.
I was about to say they're going to win next year's title, championship too.
Right.
That's what they were on.
You could not tell Knicks fans nothing. Yeah. And by the way, I think you still couldn't, maybe even after game 3. They're like, we're back, baby. It's all happening. Knicks in 6.
Right. They're wild. I just love the ambiance. Again, every single former Knick player's courtside. I think that shit is dope. Mm-hmm. And there's a mob. Dylan, what's that shit called? The mob of just the crazy fans that talk shit to everyone? Is there like a
You mean New Yorkers?
Yeah. Oh, man, right. They are nuts with no filter. Like, I said early on, I just think it would be great for just the ecosystem of the NBA if the Knicks were able to win. But let's get down to why I don't think they're
going to.
Yeah, I love what they're doing. I had the team run a ton of numbers today because I just kind of want to figure out what things look like and what the vibe is. But let's talk game 3. Tibbs, surprise, dipped into the bench a little bit. Shaman and Wright got a little bit of time. There's been a switch with Josh Hart going to the bench and Mitchell Robinson starting now. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the shakeup and Tibbs at this point. And I was saying before we started, like, I'm looking at the guys' minutes now, and all the guys are in like low 30s. So it means he's dipping into the bench. But shit, the bench hasn't really got no burn all year. So how are they supposed to, on the Eastern Conference final stage, perform? But go ahead. What are your thoughts with kind of a little bit of shakeup and him using a little bit more depth?
Well, I think it was Kenny Smith, right, who had the line so far of the series where he's like, Tibbs won't even use 9 guys in a baseball game.
Crazy.
What was he doing tonight, right? That was kind of insane.
Yeah.
Whether you play guys a lot, whether you don't, I mean, it really depends on the day. People go back and forth, right? Because when the Knicks, when we saw Cleveland, for example, right, fall apart against the Pacers, people were like, oh, see? The Pacers have played their guys.
Yes.
They're used to running up and down. They're used to heavy minutes. And Cleveland, that made this huge show all year of like, we're not going to wear guys out. We're only going to play our starters a certain amount of time. The criticism was they weren't ready when it was time to go.
Yep.
The Tibbs criticism we always know is he plays guys into the ground. And yet, if you look at some of the numbers, it doesn't always back that up. Look, I asked you before we started if you had played for Carlisle or Tibbs before, which I can't kind of believe you haven't, considering how many teams they've both been at and you've been at. But it's interesting to me that Rick Carlisle has largely outcoached Tom Thibodeau in this series. And then I think what you saw and what you're asking about is Tibbs sort of feeling around for what else might work. And when we saw Brunson on the bench, I am in no way one of these people who was like, oh my God, Jalen Brunson, they're better without him. I mean, that's just insanity. However, the fact that Brunson and Cat weren't playing together and the defensive weakness when they're both on the floor that creates wasn't there. That's what I thought was most interesting about all those. That mix
there's
of
numbers obviously in analytics. You guys can get that somewhere else. But when they're able to stagger their minutes, and let's be real, I mean, Mikal Bridges hasn't necessarily been the lockdown guy he's been known to be. OG has kind of been inconsistent when it comes to defense. You know, Cat with his size 20s, he's not really moving them puppies as they would say. And then Brunson is doing so much heavy lifting on the offensive end. It's just like, how much do you expect from him? So, you know, I wanted to just, my whole thing is obviously being a former player, like you can't, first of all, simulate game reps, especially at this point with all the adrenaline. Like, you can't just all of a sudden get in shape. You know what I mean? And that's why I always tip guys that we look at Indiana and we look at OKC. Their guys have got a taste of this shit the whole season. So now when it's here, whether it's a little bit longer than normal spurt or a quick spurt, they're ready and they're here. You give guys opportunities that hasn't necessarily played, and I'm not sure what you're expecting, because I'm always thinking, Rachel, in the playoffs, a couple games of series, someone from the bench is going to go off and really help you get through this. But it's almost like the Knicks don't even have that opportunity. I mean, we said early, Shamet's some guy that can hit 4 threes. DeLon Wright is great at getting downhill and drawing fouls, and he does some stuff on the defensive end. But it's just like these guys haven't really got an opportunity the whole time. So,
and the pressure's then on more too, right?
Yeah.
If you know this is your only shot, I don't care how highly conditioned, highly trained, mentally tough a pro athlete you are.
It's tough.
It's tough, man.
People have no idea how, especially with the lights being so bright. This is the Eastern fight. It's not the first round.
No.
Like, this is the Eastern. Everyone's expecting to win 2 championships and
watching.
1 today.
Exactly.
It's crazy. But, Cat showed up game 3 with 20 points. He had just as many as the Pacers had in the fourth quarter. Played really well, carried him. Brunson, I want to say, was 6 for 18 from the field, scored well, but not a typical game. For these playoffs, what is Cat at? 21 and 11, and Brunson's at what, 34 and
6.
34 at 6. Shooting only 30% from the 3-point line. My argument earlier was that Cat's numbers are very solid. Brunson's numbers are above average. Cat's numbers are actually above average in this series. You look at OG, you look at Hart, and you look at Bridges. All their numbers are solid and where they're at, but that's it. Now that Mitchell Robinson is getting a chance to play, and I don't really know Tibbs, but it's just like when he's with you, and I think as a player you love that. But like now he's inserting Mitchell Robinson, but he'll play him the entire first quarter, and then his numbers drastically drop the rest of the game. I love him as an energy spark, someone who can change the momentum, someone who can get you 3 offensive rebounds and a kick out forward through like that kind of shit. But then he's playing these consistent whole entire quarters, and then his numbers are, very average the rest of the game. So, I mean, going into tonight's game, what do you feel like is the Knicks' game plan, trying to go here and even up the series on Indiana's court?
Well, I think they kind of have to, right?
No question. You go down 3-1. They've shown what they can do at home.
And,
they're nasty right? At home. It's crazy.
Right?
As great as the environment it's been.
Well, first of all, I don't know if home court advantage even matters to any of these playoffs anymore at this point. We've seen so many crazy things. Everyone keeps saying, oh, you get them to the Garden in a Game 7. These Pacers don't care. By the way, Tyrese Haliburton is just as happy to score his game-winning shot
probably
at the
more.
Madison Square Garden.
Probably more in the Garden. It's more legendary.
Right? Exactly. So,
Rachel, you were in New York on behalf of DraftKings, and you got a chance to witness an amazing Game 1. Tyrese Haliburton, the hero, or one of the heroes. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
The ball goes up. How long did it take for that ball to go down?
Man, it felt like forever. I was hoping it was a 3. Obviously it wasn't. But proud of our groups, fight, resilience. And, to win in overtime is a big deal. So just really proud of the group.
What was it when you were a kid? What did you count down in your head that you're so good at these last-second shots? Was it Game 7 of the NBA Finals? Like, what was it in your driveway?
High school state championship.
Okay.
I want to go to the NBA, but more than anything, I want to win a state championship in high school. So that's more I would think of.
All right. Have you used the Reggie Miller thing? You can't use it again, you feel? Or you feel like you might bring it out again?
It's all spur of the moment. It was spur of the moment. I wasn't plotting on that. It just happened. So no, I don't think you'll see it again.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We haven't been on since that, but I mean, how fucking he big toed, he KD'd it.
Yes.
But Rachel, can you imagine if that was the game winner?
Can you imagine if they didn't win the overtime afterward?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because we think about the Swaggy P meme, right? Where they'll like throw it, turn around, and that is like that is literally the symbol in the NBA. How long has that been? Has that been 10 years?
Yeah, it's probably been longer, right?
It feels like a fucking decade.
Yeah,
and that is still the symbol of all the shit that is the symbol of, right? And yet, if Ty had done the choke sign and then, quote, choked the game away or whatever it was, that image of him with the word choker underneath would have lived forever. Yes. And that is why I give him a lot of credit, by the way.
Handling his business.
For doing all the shit that he does, because he puts himself, that's what we want, right? Put yourself out there.
Yes, and he is doing that.
And he does it. So anyway,
in his way.
He's happy to win a Game 7 on the road if it comes to that. But I don't know if it's going to come to that. I feel like with the Knicks-Pacers series, It's pretty evenly matched. I feel like anyone could, neither one of these are perfect teams, right? Either one could come out with a big night. The problem is the Knicks are in too much of a hole now.
Yes.
Right? Because the Knicks have to win 4 out of 5 games. After you lose the first 2, you've got to win 4 out of 5. And by the way, we've seen it. We've seen it in NBA Finals not that long ago, right? So it's not like it can't happen. It is hard.
Yes.
You have to be the better team. And I'm not sure the Knicks are that much of the better team. That even though they got 1, I don't know if in total they can win 4 out of 5, and whether they win tonight or not, I'm not sure it matters so much in the long term of whether they're going to win the series. I think it'll make it fun.
Yes.
I have a question for you about Jalen Brunson being your best player, though. You're talking about 1A, 1B, all the stuff. Can you have
this? Go ahead, finish your question.
Well, my
first.
question to you, having played, because you were such a two-way player, which is a hysterical term to me, by the way, in basketball, because isn't everyone supposed to be a two-way player? But anyway, to have a guy who just, not because of his heart, not because he doesn't try, but because of the size he is, who can never be anything but average defensively and often something of a liability. Can you have that be your best player?
So I posed
and win
this
a title?
question. That was my thing. Can he be your best player and win a title? I think he's shown at times he's been the most unguardable guy in the playoffs. He's been incredible. They can throw different defenses at him. He's still doing what he does. But with that load, and then you look at everything that makes him great offensively, his pace, playing off 2 feet, his IQ, all that, he doesn't have any of those natural attributes as like the normal superstars we think that are carrying teams that can go ahead and flip around and lock in on the other side. So when you look at him on defense, you look at Cat on defense, someone who else scores the ball really well but doesn't necessarily play defense. As I said earlier, Bridges hasn't necessarily locked down as we're accustomed to. Maybe he's a little tired.
He's also only one guy.
Right.
You kind of would need a team of Bridges.
You need at least 2 guys and maybe 1 guy off the bench, and then a team that plays team defense. We're going to get to OKC because I'm so in love with the way they're just on a string. Can Brunson be that guy? And I mean, we're seeing it right now, right? Like Jokic said, like last series, if we could have won, we would have won. We didn't. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm still interested and I don't want this to be a knock on because I think he's been absolutely incredible in these playoffs. But that was my question a while ago. Can he be the guy on your team and help and you guys win a championship with that? So we're gonna have to see.
And it's hard too because the guy implies that like he's not tough enough, he's not good enough, he doesn't have enough swag. Like he's got all of that.
Yes.
He can be the guy in that way.
Yes.
But he's only as tall as he is tall. And so either you need to have such defensive stalwart presence around him.
Yes.
And I don't know if the Knicks have that. Nope. I don't know if it's possible to build a team like that in this era.
Yeah.
Right? Where if that is your best player and he's worthy in every other sense that he's just not four inches taller.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know.
I think like if we're just hypotheticals real quick, you throw him on the Oklahoma City roster with the depth of defense they have, and you can hide him.
But then is he
from
the guy?
That stamp? I mean, it's a whole nother conversation. I still think there's nothing you can do with him on the offensive end.
Is he your? If you threw him on OKC, are you putting him instead of Shea?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was if I was removing Shea and putting him in there somewhere you can hide because there's so much great defense and talent on that team.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess it's this is something we're gonna have to see. To your point, even if they get tonight, do we see them still getting another 2 out of 3? And I just don't. But one thing is going to be a big hit for Indiana if it happens tonight is Nesmith is questionable.
Yeah,
this guy is nearly at 17 points a game, 50 from the field, and 73% from the 3-point line. He was single-handedly went nuts.
Game 1.
At the end of game 1. He's been the primary defender on Brunson, although Brunson, that 34 game, nothing has been easy. Absolutely nothing's been. He makes him work for everything, and good offense is always, or great offense is always going to beat good defense. You know, I mean, I ran into that in my I just made them work, but they still got numbers. So he's definitely making him do his thing. So if they lost him, that could be big, depending on how long. But again, they do have. That's the one thing you keep. And I have to say this with all due respect, like they're bringing guys off the bench that I haven't heard of, but they're out there doing their thing. Like they're out there playing well. Carlisle has those guys ready. So we shall see. One thing I'm happy about is Big John Haliburton.
Yes.
You got reinstated before I did.
Yeah, baby.
Congratulations, man. He gets to be in the building tonight, game 4.
I'm so happy about this.
I really want to sit and talk to him because I've talked to people around him and he's just so proud to be a fucking dad.
Yeah, man.
And a black dad with all the narratives and stigmas that have been in the past, but he's just happy to be out there. They showed edits of him at a bar still tripping when he couldn't go to the game and he was doing his thing.
Love it.
So I absolutely, again, as a passionate dad, John, we need to have a beer together. But happy he'll be back in the building. He missed 8 games. It's crazy we're even talking about it like he's a player. He missed 8 games because of the Giannis shit back on April 29th, but he will be back in the building. We saw our boy Stack at game. Go ahead.
Well, I want to say one more thing about John.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, I'm thrilled. I've been saying for the last week or two, like, okay, we have gotten to the point where the punishment has outweighed the crime, right? Yes. Your son is doing things that literally, by the way, no human has ever done in the game of basketball, and certainly Tyrese has never done. And it's not an insult to say he might not ever do it again. There's a lot of time and place, and I mean, it's literally never happened before. So the idea that he'd have to miss all of that, again, punishment outweigh the crime. To me, we need to be creative about thinking about how we make these decisions for people.
Yes.
Because the argument that I've gotten thrown back to me over this last week that I've said, come on, let him back in the building is, okay, but what he did was so out of pocket. And the answer is yes, but there are other ways to say you can't do this. And I believe they're going to have him in a suite for the next rest of the way.
Keep your ass
and
up
that
top.
is the way to say you
mad
can't do this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, to the player participation issue, to tie it into the awards voting.
Yes.
That's bullshit to me.
Yeah,
yes, there's other ways you can say you can't do this. That doesn't have to be the way.
Right.
Keeping John out of the building does not have to be the way you say you can't do this. I'm thrilled he's back.
Uncharted territories with the shit John did on the court. But again, I'm glad he's back.
Well, he's lucky he rolled up on Giannis and not you.
Man, that's what I said. We were having a conversation. You would pop that shit in front of someone else, you might have got smacked. But I'm glad it didn't have to go there. It didn't have to go there.
I think 80% of the guys in the league.
Yeah, it didn't have to go there. But he's back tonight, so I know Tyrese and the rest of Indiana can appreciate that. This episode is brought to you by Boost Mobile.
Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network. I know we stay joking, but let me take a second to put on my serious voice, because this isn't a joking matter. Me personally, I would never joke about a 5G network that has invested billions in building 5G towers across the country.
Me neither.
Not even once.
Me neither.
Feel me?
Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network and also provides coverage across 99% of America. Seriously. Visit boostmobile.com or your nearest Boost Mobile store for more information.
The Boost Mobile network, together with our roaming partners, covers 99% of the U.S. population. 5G speeds not available in all areas. You ever had one of those moments when you want to elevate your night? Maybe it's a dinner with friends or a celebration that calls for something extra. That's where Grand Marnier comes in. You probably heard of it, but have you tried the signature drink? The Grand Margarita. It's the twist of a classic margarita. It has the smooth richness of Grand Marnier's cognac. And combined with orange liqueur, a bit of citrus, and just the right amount of sweetness, with a taste like that, it's perfect for any occasion. Whether you're chilling at the crib or out with friends, a Grand Marg remixes a regular cocktail into something extraordinary. Don't just settle for a good cocktail when you can have something grand. It's about making your next drink one to remember. So when you're making your next margarita, remix it and make it grand with Grand Marnier. Grand Marnier liqueur, 40% alcohol by volume, 80 proof. 2025 Campari America, New York, New York. Drink with style, drink responsibly.
Moving out west, I haven't been excited about the way a team plays defense in a long time because it's not something that's necessarily focused on. But I remember one particular play where Edwards ran down through the middle. He had Dort Island on him, and then he got screened, and he was switched to Jalen Williams, which is so he had a first team all defender on him. He ran off a screen. A second team all defender went on him, and he went off another screen. And someone who should be on the all defensive team, Caruso, switched out and denied him. I'm like, there's no other team out there that can do it. Not only do they have individual lockdown defenders, but they're great defensive team. Like forever, all the young people out there, college kids, even NBA guys, just watch how they are on a string and they're moving and they're making that second and third effort. On top of the way Shea scoring the ball, on top of the way Jalen Williams is scoring the ball. I think Jalen Williams, after a tough second round series, he's kind of flourishing. And we know stars are born in the playoffs. What are your thoughts? We haven't even touched on Ant's not playing well and Randall disappearing, but what are your thoughts in this series as Minnesota trails 3-1?
I was going to talk about game 4, and this speaks to how, first of all, The playoffs are good, man.
When
you sat down and you were like, oh,
great.
I like basketball a lot right now. It's so fun. There's a couple clunker games that we've seen over the past few weeks, but when games like the last couple that we see as we sit here today, where it's just shot making after shot making as opposed to sucking after sucking, it's just to see the elite level right now. And this is what I'm talking about.
Hold your point 1 second. And what I want to say with that, because I think, Rachel, we've seen a passing of the guards in these particular playoffs. Again, smaller markets, none of our traditional old stars that are unfortunately on their way out. It's new stars, small markets, and just, again, shot making. There's been some blowouts, but guys are playing at a high level. I don't know what the TV numbers are, and obviously when LeBron's not in and all that. Yeah. I just know there's been some really good basketball, and it's all new, young players and stars doing it.
It's fun, man.
Go ahead.
Well, no, but to your point, right? So this is what Minnesota Timberwolves did right. And I'm reading from John Krasinski, who's a great beat writer from The Athletic, who has covered the team for a long time. They shot it better from the field, 51%. They shot it better from three-point range than the Thunder, 44%. They out-rebounded OKC. They scored more points in the paint. They scored more points in transition, more points than OKC off second chances, had 8 more assists, 3 more points off turnovers. They made 6 more free throws. And Minnesota's bench outscored the Thunder's bench. And by the way, the Thunder's bench is solid. Damn good. Minnesota's bench outscored the Thunder's 64-27. But guess who won the game? And not even like by a little bit. It didn't feel... I know it got close at the end, but didn't it feel to you like the Thunder were always like the older brother, the kind of like just holding it up a little in front of them?
But I think the two things you mentioned is their stars didn't play well. I think, you look at DiVincenzo, 7 for 11 from the field, 5 for 8, 21 points. I love Alexander Walker, Shay's cousin.
Did you know that they're cousins? Because they haven't mentioned it at all.
Because
no one's talked about it.
I think because he's finally on a big enough stage where he's showing his shit. You know what I mean? But he goes for 23, 5 for 8 and plays tough defense. McDaniels goes for 22. Gobert, nearly a double-double, 13 and 9. But then you look at Ant, 5 for 13, 16 points, 1 for 7 from the 3. And then Randall, who's been incredible during these playoffs, but he's been kind of bottled up against this team. 28 minutes, 1 for 7, 5 points.
Yeah.
So your two best players can't have those kind of nights, especially on the same night in the Western Finals.
I agree. And you can't win when that's the case. But you are playing against a defense that is designed to do this.
Incredible.
And so when people are like, oh, Ant had a bad night, and then Ant comes out and said, I wouldn't say I was struggling, and that got a lot of attention. I think he's right. Look, the defense is designed to suffocate him and take the ball out of his hands. And is he making good decisions or not? And he was generally making good decisions. He's still 23 years old.
Yes.
Right? But this is the Western Conference playoffs. I just think we are such a either you're gold or you're trash society now.
Right.
That we forget in our breakdowns of some of these games, oh man, he didn't show up. He was trash. Julius Randle, I thought he was good again. And now oh look, he's shown his true colors. Guess what? They're playing against a historically good defense. Man. And this is what happens. Yeah. And he has played really well up until now in these playoffs. Yep. And he is having some not great games against one of the best defenses to do it. And this is what happens when you have this level of might versus might. This is like Avengers Civil War shit, right? You've got this team of people and this team of people. Not everyone's going to win all the time. So I think that's what we're seeing a little bit is OKC is that good. You sit here and you say they've got this defense. It's 7-on-5 out there half the time is what it feels like.
The one thing I would say, and obviously you're right, but still stars have to play better. The one thing I'll say about Anthony, I just don't like, he hasn't taken enough shots for me. 5 for 13 again, and I think this is the second time he's taken 13 shots. I'm from an era of gunners.
We play with Kobe.
You know what I mean? So, but that's what, at this point, I feel like if we're going to go down, it's going to go down because he went 3 for 20.
But then are we all going to sit here and be like, I can't believe he's taking those shots?
But I would rather.
You'd rather him do it.
He's that good.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I would rather have.
Minnesota's defense is not Oklahoma City's defense.
No question. But I would rather. Ant has to be in the 18 to 23 attempts a game for this team to have. And I don't think they have a chance. And I say that with all due respect. I think the they've done very well. But I think OKC, with the way their defensive playing and then the way Shea is still scoring, whether he's baiting fouls or not, he's getting those buckets. And then again, Jalen Williams, for Shea to be able to go sit on the bench and him to carry the team offensively.
That very to me impressive. Is the interesting
But Rachel,
thing.
you know what's weird to me is like they have two guys that can really go out and get it, but they also have really good ball movement.
Yeah.
It's nuts. You know what I mean? There's times obviously where Shea will do his things, and then last night when Jalen was doing this thing. But on top of their guys that are really two guys going to get it, the ball still moves around.
They do need Jalen Williams to play the way he played last night.
Oh, he was incredible last
night.
And
that is not a gimme.
No.
And we will still see, by the way, whether it's in this Western Conference Finals, whether it's in the finals if they make it, we will see a couple bad games from him, and people will be like, see, they don't have a second star. They can't do it.
Yeah.
He's not there yet, but he's showing enough that he could be that I'm interested.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, first-time All-Star, second-team All-Defense, and again, for him to carry the offensive load as the way he did was really impressive. Ant only had 4 points going into the second quarter, only took 2 shots in the first half of the game, 13 for the game, 16 points, 6 rebounds. 6 assists, 4 rebounds. What do you need to see this game for them, which is going to be tomorrow night, for them to have a chance to try to get one more maybe?
Look, I think it'd be very hard, first of all, to walk into that environment in Oklahoma City. You know what it's like.
Nasty, crazy, loud.
If y'all out there have not seen the video of them coming back to the airport at 3 a.m. after game 4.
I didn't see it. Was it crazy?
It was crazy. And this is something they do in Oklahoma City, but I love that, right? I mean, they sit and wait for those guys after road trips, especially during the playoffs. It was a madhouse at like 3:30 in the morning in Oklahoma, which was just so much fun to see.
Ain't shit else to do. I love it.
Right? Yeah. It's going to be a crazy environment. I think that's going to be hard for them. Look, Anthony Edwards is a couple years behind Shea, right?
Yes.
Both in terms of years in the league, age, all of that stuff. He will get there.
Yes.
We all know it. We all see it. Dylan and I had this conversation going into this series. Dylan, you were saying, I think Ant's ready. He's ready to be the face of the league. He's the star. And that's true. He's ready to do a lot of the star things. But you still have to go on the basketball court.
And produce, first and foremost.
Not just produce, but also learn, right?
Yep.
We are so in a culture. The commercials are the best in the NBA, right?
Yep.
Don't you think? He's got the best commercials in the NBA. And he's got the best star power. He gives the best press conference. He's great on the court.
He's got all the intangibles.
He walks down the street in LA after fucking dethroning, right? Kingslayer, right? He's sitting there calling Gobert Dragon and calling himself the Kingslayer and got the whole 9. But he's still 23 years old.
Baby. Yep.
And he is going to get better enough in the next 2 years that he would walk into a situation like he is about to walk into an OKC and tear the house down.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's there yet.
He's not. And I think it's just mentality too. I don't even think it's skill set. I think it's the mentality to say, fuck everything else. If we're going to sink, we're going to sink on my back. I think that's what kind of talent he has.
Yeah.
That's what kind of talent he has.
But you still got to learn how to do it. And by the way, against, again, a historically good defense.
But I mean, if we look at it, what has he done? He's got his team to the Western Finals
twice.
The last 2 years. Like, no one thought he was going to make it this year.
And by the way,
again, the King Slayer. He beat all the legends of my time that are, on the backside of their career. So again, I think you made a great point. It's all or nothing with sports media now, and fan bases that don't know shit. Our peanut gallery downstairs crazy as hell. Like, it's just all or nothing. You cannot falter, period.
Right.
You know what I mean? But again, if you're a real head of the game, his trajectory is where it needs to be. Perk said something about he needs to be a family man. I didn't read the whole thing, but Perk, you're tripping. Motherfucker, you just got to hoop and keep getting better. He will be the face of the game.
But Dylan's right. He's going to be everything we think he's going to be. He is going to be.
And more.
You just got to can't skip steps, right? You got to wait for
we had conversation, and I don't know if this the chat for this show that they were saying, if Tyrese wins the chip, is he ahead of Reggie? If Ant wins, is he ahead of KG? If Brunson wins, is he the greatest Nick
of all time?
And if Shea wins, is he ahead of KD or Russ?
Okay.
And it's just like, to me, it's not enough under the belt.
Yeah.
Like, you got to consistently do it. And granted, some of those guys that I mentioned, the OG guys that I play with, didn't win rings in those particular spaces, or the legends didn't win rings, but it's consistency over a number of years that what makes you jump. I mean, KG put 16 years, or how many years in 13 years in Minnesota, and all the shit he did, and Reggie put a lifetime in there, and then you're looking at Patrick Ewing and some of the other guys. Although Brunson, I think, has a chance if he can win it to become the greatest Knick, and I say that with all due respect. Brunson, yeah. But yeah, it's a level of consistency through a year in, year out that gets you to the top of these franchises, in my opinion.
I have a question for you that goes across a bunch of NBA discussions I'm having right now. How much is winning? Because, there's winning and there's misery, right? That's Pat Riley. Winning is the only thing, blah, 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 blah. But we're talking about the Giannis conversation. Should they trade Giannis? What's the value of having Giannis on your court as a Buck, even if you can't win? I would argue for that franchise. You're not getting another Giannis anytime soon. Not. So they're, just being in a hurry to tear it down and rebuild doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like, when you talk about who's the greatest Timberwolf player to ever be there, or who's the greatest Knick, or who, when we talk about the Lakers, right? Who is the greatest player to wear a Lakers uniform is a very different conversation than who is the greatest Laker, right? And like, how much does a ring get you everywhere in that discussion? Or is
I don't know. I think the bar
everything
moves,
else you do.
But the bar moves in every situation, unfortunately. And Rachel, you came up in an era, and I grew up in an era watching and playing in where stars didn't move.
Correct.
Like they would go through what Kobe go through a 5-year drought where they were fucking dog shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he rode that ship, and you give that respect. KG rode the ship for 13 years until he finally jumped off and went to Boston. So we live in an era where it's instant gratitude, and you see it in sports in general. You think about it, and I'll flip to football. Yeah. Some of the great quarterbacks came in. Aaron Rodgers came in and sat 3 years, 4 years behind Brett Favre, and was able to learn and develop. Now, because everyone is making so much money in all sports, you get thrown in the fire pan right off the rip. Yep. And if it doesn't pan, you're dog shit. You know what I mean? Or whatever people want to call you, instead of allowing that time to develop. To your point, you're definitely not getting another Giannis. You're not getting no big free agents. Dame was a huge move, but it wasn't necessarily free agency. It was, it was coming to play with Giannis. But if you move them and try to rebuild, I mean, you know what you're getting rid of, and you know you're not going to get nothing back. But again, we live in a society now where, do you credit or you get mad at LeBron, where he was the first superstar to really kind of start moving, and guys see that, and he moved with success. Ron moved and went and got 3 more championships. Yeah. Now, in the hierarchy of the game, do you look down on him when you're talking at the end, because he has a bunch of numbers? But if he would have stayed in Cleveland, how many chips would he have won? Kobe stayed with the Lakers and rode those nasty seasons and won 5 chips. So it's just, I feel like the goalpost moves when it comes to player movement these days, and who is the best, and what route they took. I mean, it's all subjective to me.
And also a lot of it's chance.
Yeah, like a ton of luck.
Right?
Ton of luck.
Like, it's who gets hurt when, right? It's Jason Tatum gets injured or not. And by the way, I know the Knicks were winning that game anyway. I know, I get it. But Jason Tatum being injured changes the trajectory of the Boston Celtics going forward. It's the bracket. Who do you get in the bracket? Yep. I think the LA Clippers locally here would have done better if they hadn't run into the Nuggets, right? So there's just so much throughout any postseason that is just damn luck. And then we sit there 20 years later and say, well, he didn't win a title there. Right. KG didn't win a title there. So blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I am reevaluating a little bit when I have all these conversations I'm not saying championships aren't important. Winning isn't important. But if you get a little more nuanced under than that, like, is it such a big deal that it's the only deal? No, and I do not think it is. As someone who grew up in Washington, D.C., and whose team has not been to the 3rd round of the playoffs in 46 years, I can tell you that it would have been nice when I was a kid to go see a Giannis Antetokounmpo on my team wearing my jersey, even if we weren't going to fucking win a title. It would have been nice.
Yeah.
Love you, Muggsy Bogues, but not the same.
It's interesting. And obviously that's a hot topic, because you think any team Giannis goes to, as long as they don't have to trade the whole team for him, is it going to be a contender? So we shall see. A lot's been made of, with Indiana and OKC, or most likely, don't want to jinx either of them, going to end up in the finals, and how both these teams, through Paul George trades, have been built and crazy. And here's a little bit of how this is broken down. Actually, I saw someone break this shit down, and it started with the Rashard Lewis trade.
Yes, I did see that.
Wasn't that good?
Yeah.
That was really good. But Pacers trade Paul George for Victor Oladipo and Sabonis. Traded Sabonis for Haliburton. And we are where we are. Next page. Thunder's trade Paul George. And I remember this too. This was Doc Rivers almost didn't get Kawhi because Kawhi's demand was PG and Doc did not want to trade SGA.
Nope.
Doc did not go back. Doc did not want to trade SGA. He saw something in him. He traded him SGA and a ton of picks, and one of those picks is now Jalen Williams, first-time All-Star, second-team All-Defense. Since we're talking about our guy Paul, and Paul, you know I love you. I fuck with you. We need to get back on the golf course. His current team, Philly. Rachel, I'm gonna give you the GM president role. Both. You have both hats on. Do you build around Maxey and McCain, or do we keep our fingers crossed that someday we might get a Joel Embiid that's going to play a lot of games and lead his team, and a Paul George is going to find the magic he used to have?
To hit a few things you just said.
Third pick in the draft, right, this year?
Yeah.
Third pick in the lottery.
So we just have to remember the Paul George trade with the Clippers, and your Doc is 100% on the record, by the way, being like, this is a mistake.
Yep.
But it was for Paul George and Kawhi.
Yes.
And Sam Presti is a magician, and he was able to engineer and participate and take advantage of a situation where the Clippers were over a barrel wanting Kawhi for reasons, by the way, that had more to do than basketball. Competing against the Lakers, that sort of large shadow.
Was there any rumor, hold your thought, was there any rumor that he could have possibly went to the Lakers? Or thought he was going to go to the...
So you remember what was going on at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Because LeBron was clearly coming to LA. Magic Magic had the meeting with him at, midnight 03. But where I put the supposedly in is it's supposedly that was like some big sell job.
That's the Magic man.
Right? I love Magic, by the way. This is not a knock on Magic, but LeBron was coming to the Lakers. I mean, they could have sent me in a wheelbarrow. Like LeBron was coming to the Lakers. That is who he wanted to come play for. He was going to come play for. And LeBron could have demanded they get someone. LeBron could have demanded they go out and get Kawhi Leonard. LeBron could have played with Kawhi on the Lakers. LeBron could have said, hey, go get this guy. He didn't do that. And there's pros and cons of him not doing that. Look what happened to the Clippers. But Kawhi said it. He said, I'm not coming. And he sort of played the Clippers and Lakers off each other. He said, well, LA, I could still come home to LA and just play for the Lakers instead and go play with LeBron. And the Clippers, the idea for them of Kawhi and LeBron across the hall in that Lakers locker room.
Couldn't have it.
Was just something that seemed so deadly for the franchise that's why they made that trade for Paul George, because Kawhi asked them to and said, that is how I am coming. And that's why they gave up so much. So when we sit back and tell the story of the Paul George trade, it was a Paul George for Kawhi swap in the Clippers' minds. And Sam Presti only had to give up SGA. One of those guys only had to give up Paul George to get all he got. I think the Sixers are deep in it enough with Embiid. He's not in a kind of tradable position because of the injuries. 70
million
and the
per
amount of money.
year
You have to
through 20.
When he's healthy, though, he is scoring more than a point a minute at times.
Incredible,
right? Wasn't that when?
But we keep saying if though.
I know. Well, they're all
if. Everyone over there is drunk if it was a fifth, because when he is healthy, there's absolutely no question. And I would even argue at times that people are gonna think I'm crazy. Like, I don't know if I'm taking Joker or Embiid if Embiid is fully healthy, because Embiid moves around more on defense. He could switch out on the pick and rolls. Like, Embiid, when healthy, is a problem. We keep saying when or if, and it just hasn't. What are we, year 10? No. Yeah.
He's had some freaky shit too, though. I broke his eye at one point. He had Bell's palsy at one point. That's not his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some crazy luck.
But at the end of the day, when we look at it, like I said, when we're looking 20 years, he wasn't out there. Is all. And I'm a huge Embiid is a monster. Then PG is making 50 to 55 million until 2028. So they're in deep with those two guys alone. Obviously, Maxey, McCain, third pick.
I think
what do you do?
Daryl, you think you're lucky stars the way the lottery worked out, because they could have lost that pick, by the way, if they were outside the top 6. So it was just a huge win all the way around. And I think in the East, that looks like it's about to maybe even get weaker. There's no Tatum next year if Giannis leaves the conference. And by the way, if I am the Bucks and I do trade Giannis, I'm sure that the Drew Holiday lesson is real, people.
Got to go to the West.
Do not trade him within the conference. So if that happens, the East is, I mean, again,
wide open.
You might be thinking about a comeback because there are some.
It's crazy.
Right? I'm 100% if I'm Philly. You're not getting the value you want from moving one of your big pieces. Run it back. See if you can if Joel can now, with all the rest he's going to have had and the surgery he had and all the stuff, see if he can be more of the player you need him to be, peak at the right time. Paul George, you and I both think
he still got some in the tank. There's no
absolutely
question.
does.
And he told me too, and I'm obviously not going to put his, but he went through some real shit this season, like real, because I would call and check on him every once in a while, and he went through some real shit this year, and people don't understand how heavy that stuff is trying to, and again, it's not an excuse, it's just that mental side of the athlete is 90% of the game. 90% of the game. So I expect Paul, he still has something in his tank and something to prove. So would you possibly attach this third pick, which is a fairly deep draft?
It's a deep draft. It's a good pick.
With one of those stars I mentioned to move one of them?
So again, I'm going to keep saying it. What kind of team do you want to see on the court? Am I tearing everything down all the time in the hope of maybe one day drafting someone as good as Joel Embiid?
Right.
So we are just so quick right now to be like, it's not working. Get rid of everyone, tear it down. Let's hope that we can get a bunch of picks. Picks don't play basketball. Picks do not put people in stands. They are just future things floating out in the world. Like, there is a point where you have to say, this is my team. These guys are good. My fans like them. Let's see if we can give it a go. I just think that people are so quick to tear down everything constantly. You're not getting value. If you have to attach the number 3 overall pick to one of your biggest stars in the hope of what?
It's not a good
Clearing
day.
Salary to do what?
Presti makes it look so easy though, Rachel.
Well, they haven't won yet.
Doesn't it? Yeah, they haven't.
And by the way,
a lot of people haven't.
If they do win,
yeah,
and they are the favorite, and now that Boston was my pick,
yeah,
I'm gonna freely, I'll say it over and over, but now that Boston's out, like OKC's the obvious pick right now. Like, if they win, it will still be one title in a sea of how many years have we been talking about this? It is hard to win. Everything has to go right. You have to have the team. You have to have the player. Your guy has to have a great series. The health has to break the right way. The bracket has to break the right way. To do all of this roster madness of I am tearing everything up and throwing it out to start hopefully 5 years from now, we can be right back where we were right now, is insane to me in this NBA. Yeah. And I don't know,
I think it's just the era of sports in general. It's just, what have you done for me lately? There's no, hey, let's figure it out, or
fantasy teams,
trust
right?
The process and Philly's words. Like, it just doesn't. People are too impatient. Teams are too impatient. Owners are wilder than ever, and money is crazier than ever.
Right.
And the movement makes our game grow even more. So it's just, it's not what we grew up on.
I don't know. I think there's something to, I get it. We're in the era of player movement. I get it. The kids now, I mean, your kids are fans of not even a team. I mean, do your kids even have a favorite team?
Players. They watch
or just
players.
I know, but I know they watch players.
Yeah, I
but
mean, they watch the team like the Warriors, Lakers, the teams I play for, Clippers. Yeah. Those are kind of the teams they lean towards.
Those are their teams,
but
right?
Those guys are on their way out because they.
But do they still love watching Steph?
Does
the fact that the Warriors only got to the second round this year, does that mean that they don't love watching Steph, that they don't love watching a Warrior? If the Warriors are on in November, November 17th, they're going to still click that game on, right?
Yep.
Like, there has to be some value in that for fans of teams and teams to be like, we still have Joel Embiid, and Philly fans love wearing that jersey with Embiid's name on the back, and let's see what the big man can do when he's healthy. Tear it all down, give away your future to tear it down. I don't like it.
Man, good luck to Embiid. We're speaking. I would just love, as a fan of him and how talented he is, I want him to be able to get some consistency out there. Rachel, thank you for stopping by. We will check back in before it's all said and done. Have a good day. Man, the wallet I had before the Ridge wallet was absolutely trash. My pockets looked huge and everything seemed like it was just falling apart. But now I have the Ridge wallet. Their wallets are thin and sleek, and you can hold up to 12 cards plus cash. All Ridge products have a lifetime warranty guaranteed. It's secure and designed for every day. It'll be the last wallet you ever buy. Right now, Ridge is having a huge Memorial Day sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/smoke. Ridge also includes a 99-day risk-free trial and free shipping. What are you waiting for? Go get your Ridge wallet now. It's designed for life.
Bro, that's some 95s you rocking?
Yes, sir. Better late than never. Couldn't afford them in high school, but I can now.
How much they hit you for?
Couple hundred.
Let me check that out. I'm about to get those.
Whether you're hunting for the latest drops you may have missed, or investing in the grails, StockX is where you need to be.
And they don't just do sneakers. We're talking about watches, collectibles, electronics. StockX got it all.
StockX gives you global access and transparent pricing. A marketplace that keeps it 100 every time. That's what StockX is bringing to the game.
Stay fresh with StockX.
Tommy Johns have changed the game. Their underwear are the most comfortable I've ever worn. They're silky soft, breathable, and lightweight. If you don't believe me, check the waistband. Ever since Tommy John has been sending me products, it's all I've been wearing. They're the true MVP in the underwear game. What are some of the problems that other underwear brands give you that Tommy John doesn't? These things let my balls breathe. And that's the most important thing. They hold them nice and tight, but they can also breathe. So get you some. Double down with comfort on Tommy John and get 25% off your first order right now at TommyJohn.com/smoke with the promo code SMOKE. Save 25% at TommyJohn.com/smoke. I'll see you there. I've teamed up with DraftKings Pick 6 for the conference finals. Wednesday, Game 5, T-Wolves versus the Thunder. I think SGA will continue on his scoring hot streak, and he'll have more points than the DraftKings Pick 6 people have him marked for. And for the T-Wolves, after a rough game, I think Julius Randle will rebound and have more points than the DraftKings Pick have him slated at. Thursday, Game 5, Pacers versus the Knicks. I think Jalen Brunson, after a poor shooting performance, will have more points than the DraftKings Pick 6 have him slated at. For the Pacers, after a big game, I think Pascal Siakam will have less points than the DraftKings Pick 6 have him slated for. Welcome back. Someone we haven't seen for a while because the Lakers have been in Cancun for what, a month now?
Yes.
Gino, Rose Sparks Davis. How are you, bro?
They calling me The Rock now, baby.
Yeah. The Rock.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what someone said in the chat.
Yeah,
like, The Rock.
man.
I'm like, who the fuck is The Rock?
You can't spell rock without the row, baby. You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
That's what we have going on. So,
come on.
Gino, as a basketball fan, someone who's been spoiled with excellence as a Laker fan, someone who is a gross exaggerator of life, would OKC and the Pacers be a bad finals to watch?
I mean, that's worse than the Cleveland OKC finals that we were anticipating, right? Like, who thought the Pacers would be anywhere close to the finals this year? Like, come on. And to be honest with you, what do you mean, like, it's not Haliburton City if Indiana wins this year?
I mean, it's going to be a city because he's a current player.
They're not going to remember Reggie Miller ever again if Halliburton wins the fucking championship this year.
That's the dumb shit is the reason why I brought you on here. Just to say it so they can attack you in the comments.
Guys stop
Pacer fans, get them.
Come on. No, but seriously, hold on. But seriously, though.
Good basketball. I talked about it with Rachel. There's not the big names. It's not the big marks necessarily outside of New York. But I feel like, and I agree with you, I think it is going to be an OKC Pacers final. And although it's not traditional, both those teams are playing really good basketball. Both those teams are deep. Both those teams' coaches are out there doing their thing. One thing about Carlisle, he's been able to make adjustments on the fly, and a lot has gone into the success of the Pacers and where they're at. But I still think, although it's not the box office we think of when we think of the NBA finals, I think it's going to be a very competitive finals. I don't know what the numbers and the ratings will do, but it'll definitely be some good basketball.
I mean, for non-casual fans, come on.
You're right. Our OKC as a whole and SGA as the MVP, and then Haliburton, is that going to draw people? We shall see. We don't know. There's been a video going around of Luka, and Luka looks like he's in great shape. He heard you and the rest of the fans. There he is. Look at him. Slim thug. That's the one thing I said, and obviously he came in the midst of the season. LA is not a place that you're going to take so much heat and criticism about shit that you're going to work on whatever needs to be worked on. And obviously we're not even maybe a month away from when they last finished playing, and Luka looks in great shape. So when you see him in that type of shape, after you said the team should trade him, what do you think?
I mean, it's the first point of business for him.
Yes.
You know, because he's taking hell in the media for being chubby. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Can't put down the plate.
Yeah.
Drinking Bud Light.
He has a body frame like you.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit taller.
Absolutely.
Than you. Yeah.
But I'm hot out here though. So
Rose Sparks.
come on now.
Word.
But yeah, it's a good start for the city to see him taking this shit serious. It's the first point of business, and I'm looking forward to next season to see what he can really do. I think he saw the old video of himself at Dallas, and really got inspired by that.
When young Luka was first on the scene
come on.
dunking and turning out on people. Word is, I saw something earlier today that LeBron is most likely to opt out of his $52 million deal. At this point in his career, is this something where you see he'll opt out, take less to hopefully bring another talent in?
I mean, that would speak volumes of his character. I mean, he has enough money, man. Like, I don't think it's a financial thing for him.
No.
But, I can't talk about a man's pockets.
Right.
So,
as a fan, do you hope that maybe something he could do?
Absolutely. And plus, it'll save his career. So should he make an adjustment to save some more years of his career? Absolutely.
You know what I think, and because we always know that Bron is in peak shape. He does everything he can do. The fact is the fact, though, he's getting older, and we saw he just ran out of gas come late in the season. So it's just like, I think to your point, if there's any way to be able to add more, and we saw right off the rip, Rob Pelinka came out and said there's been some demands made, and we're going to go out and do our best to meet those. So it'll be interesting to see the way that situation shakes out. And the Lakers always somehow, some way make something happen. So I'm definitely interested to see what can work out as the team is currently constructed, and again with Bron going into year 22 next year. Or 23?
23.
Holy shit.
Is it 23
Bron
years?
going into year 23 next year. The players you bring in moving forward, are those to work around Luka or to work around Bron's last couple years in the league?
I think both can be true.
Okay.
LeBron's still the guy for our team, no matter how you look at it. What can we bring in, though, to help?
I think you guys need some dogs, some wing defenders that really get out there, possibly 3-and-D.
So a Giannis trade wouldn't help us.
Giannis going to your team would help anything, but it's just, how does that work numbers wise? Has Austin Reeves, he's someone, when's he up? Next year or the year after?
Yeah, he's
on one of the most favorable deals you'll ever get. He's gonna demand, and some people think he might fuck around and get north of 150, maybe 200 million from another team.
Yeah,
the
not
way
from
he's
us.
played. So is that an asset that you possibly look to move? They were adamant about not moving him. So there's a lot of ifs and what ifs that are going to happen this season or summer, this free agency. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens. The Bucks hope that Doc Rivers' presence will convince Giannis to stay longer. Reported by Mike Stein, Antetokounmpo and Rivers are believed to have a strong working relationship. Is Doc Rivers the reason Giannis won't force a trade?
I don't know if that's the case. I think that city is just in a bad situation. You know how it goes when you win a championship and then your expectations are so high afterwards. What can they do over there? Like, Giannis is the only hope for that city for the next decade. Like, why would you want to move your star? Like, let's be honest. I wouldn't want to move our star.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he's never been a guy that he's been very loyal and hasn't even allowed conversation to really be brought up. He's always dead it, but he's not dead it anymore. So it'll be really crazy to see him move, to your point, small market like Milwaukee. He's done everything he's done there and accomplished there. You're not going to get anything near the return of what he's been able to give you. But we live in a society of what have you done for me lately? And we live in a society of player movement and in particular superstar movement. So will he join the train to get to a bigger market and a situation to win? We will see. Man, moving ahead to the women's game, I got a chance to take Ava and one of her friends for 8th grade graduation to a Sparks game the other day, bro. And I was so impressed with Kelsey Plum. Obviously, she ended up with, what did she score that game? 28 and 8 and 3, but it was a slow start for her. But it wasn't only how hot she got, but it's the way she moves and orchestrates the offense and is always encouraging on. I hadn't seen her play in a while, and obviously I got a chance to see her play in person in Vegas, and obviously her role on that team was different with Asia and all the talent they had over Chelsea Gray and those ladies over there. But with this team that's kind of obviously Cameron Brink's coming back, and what's her name's coming back too. Yeah. Not fully healthy. The way she's played, I think she's averaging 25 a game, but I was just really impressed with just the way she ran that team, bro. And the big shot after big shot she hit. I'll also say that was the first time I got to see Angel Reese play in person. And no matter how much shit people talk about her, she has a huge fan base. Like in LA, there were people screaming her name and cheering for her when she did good shit. She's got a lot of criticism lately with the Caitlin Clark shit. I'm not even going to get into that. But what I'll say is like, she works her fucking ass off on the boards, whether she's rebounding her shot or not. She's rebounding and she plays with the motor. And I think there's a big debate about her and her. She's leading the league in rebounding, I think, at nearly 14 points a game. And some people's offensive repertoire come in the league ready for that league, whatever, NBA or not, or WNBA. She'll get her offensive, situation down, but she's nearly at a double-double consistently. You know what I mean? So I think the hate and criticism she takes is more from people that just want to talk shit and don't necessarily watch the game and see that there is definitely potential there. But yeah, man, I had a good time. Ava had a good time. It was good to get to a Sparks game. I hadn't been one in such a long time. I was there with KD.
I saw KD.
Yeah, he was chilling. We had a good time. Caught up a little bit. Talked a lot of shit. Be interesting to see where he goes this offseason. I heard the Spurs are ready to make a move for him. Where would you see who is more likely to move in your opinion, Giannis or KD?
KD for sure. He's up out of there.
And
no matter
give me
what happens.
3 spots you wouldn't mind seeing KD.
I mean, first spot for him would be going to Houston and get on with that team. Another spot would be OKC again. Depending on, especially if they lose in the finals this year, if they even make it to the finals. But if they lose in the finals, they'll be looking to change that team, maybe just a little bit.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
And then my third team is Golden State, obviously.
Be interesting.
But you don't think they'll
be
ready to move anybody? Huh?
No.
Why?
No. They're too young. Too young. And who you would have to give up to get a KD is, would you give up a young Jalen Williams? Would you give up a Chet, someone who's been huge for them offensively and defensively? Dort Island. Dort has shown in these motherfuckers. He's already shown, but in these, he's with help. He's given Ant Edwards hell. So, I mean, they have a lot of pieces, but I just don't think this team's too young to do any kind of adjustments. I think Hardenstein needs to look to be a little bit more aggressive offensively. I think that would help their team. But outside of that, I think this team is set for the next handful of years. But, Gino, it's good to see you back. I appreciate you. Rock is what they're calling you in the streets these days?
Brick.
Oh, Brick now. Sheesh.
You guys make me sick.
All right, bro.
My dog. I appreciate you guys. Absolutely.
It's a wrap. You can catch us on All the Smokes Productions YouTube and the DraftKings Network. We'll see y'all next week.